Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Dungeons and Dragons.
Epic.
Well, what is it actually? Just playing a role-playing game based off Dungeons and Dragons. Uh, uh, I mean, really, this might be like one of the first things chronologically, so I should say hello. I'm Ryan, the game master, and this will be a brief one-shot. But yeah, Elizabeth, you want to describe your character?
Just physically, or what do you mean?
However you'd like.
Okay. I'm an elf. I'm short for an elf. I have long silvery hair and green eyes, and I wear all black like a tunic, pants, and boots. I'm usually good at shooting an arrow, and that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing.
Oh, and normally I have ears, but I'm not going to wear them because of my migraine. You have to pretend.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's cool. Thanks for playing. So basically, the reason I wanted to just do a little prologue was to kind of just develop the elfin aspect of your character. So, just wanted to go over some lore with you a little bit as I created the world. It's basically Tolkien now, so if you know Tolkien elves are kind of mysterious.
It's breaking up. It's breaking up.
Oh no.
I can't hear you.
How does it matter?
What?
Hello?
Hi?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Wait, you can't say that. That's trademarked.
Good. Um, so, anyway, yeah. So basically, yeah, one thing, kind of the most important thing is, as an elf, you're like immortal, and you have a gem, like a jewel, kind of like a diamond. So it could be a necklace or an earring or a ring or something. You can decide what it is.
It's
I don't know
my
if you already
ring.
decided. You have a ring.
Yeah, let me get it. 1 sec.
Be careful with. Ooh, slow. Maybe mute yourself while you're rummaging because it's really loud for me.
Would this be okay?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, you can have a ring. You can also wear it as a necklace since it is a ring. But yeah, amazing. It's like this green jewel matches your eyes. Yeah, in the light, it kind of can see through it. Sure, it's basically your elven soul, as it were. So like the only real way, like you could give it away, but then you would just not be immortal. So there's no reason to do that, but that's kind of how elves are. You have that, you're aware of that. And I mean, if you did ever choose to give it away, you'd become like a human, bound to die, basically. So yeah, elves usually wear their spirits close to their hearts. So, but yeah, you also know like basically around the time this campaign starts, and for this prologue, you're essentially reaching the age of elven maturity, which is like in human understanding, like 20 years old, and you're just like gonna look that way forever. Like, not gonna, you get like scars or whatever. You're not gonna age. And yeah, also with the immortality, that age actually is like about 40 for an elf, like 20 for a human. And then you never look older. You just look kind of perfect forever. lovely. And that's how all the older elves are. So like you can tell if like an elf is like young, but other than that, they're just like a mature elf. They could be like thousands of years old though, because elves, don't necessarily have to die. So there's definitely like old elves that you're aware of that you've been taught a little bit about, and there are definitely like older elves in the Ore Union. But most of the really ancient elves are not in the Ore Union. They're more in like Errigold, the Empire, the elves over there to like the west. So, there's older elves here. There's some maybe could say ancient elves, perhaps. You don't know for sure. Most of the elves, though, in the Ore Union are definitely on the younger side, which, really could mean like they're 800 or 800 years old. Would be kind of an older elf, because that's kind of how old the Ore Union is. So there could be older elves, but there's a lot of newer elves in this region too, because elves would have offspring in peace times. There's a lot of wars in other kingdoms, so the Ore Union's kind of nice. It's had peace for like maybe like 800 years as well. So just a little brief background. There's a lot of young elves, kind of, not a ton, but like good amount. It's like an area with young elves, which of course you are one of, being much younger than 400 years old or what have you. So, yeah, and having regained basically all your memories, you do know that the time of the campaign, you're like 40, 41. So, yeah. And, yeah, any thoughts?
No, seems good so far. Stuff I knew.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to don my elven ears. Check these out. I'm an elven scholar. Teach you everything you need to know about the elves.
And should I do it?
People. It's up to you. This will be a short session though. Basically a little brief outline. I'm just going to give you a little bit of history, like I'm doing here, and then I have a short little railroad quest for you with Richard. You'll be in the sixth word. So, I was going to ask if you're aware of. I mean, the timeline now makes more sense to you probably, because so hopefully it don't confuse you. But yeah, we're going back again. We'll stop jumping back around in time after this. I hope. I think. So this will be actually just prior to you losing your memory. So after this session, your character will actually lose her memory chronologically. But at this point for you, you've actually remembered basically everything. And being a priestess at the Church of the Word, you kind of study more advanced magics. You can cast like ritual magics, which also the dark cult within the church does as well, casts some nefarious magics deep below, involving sacrifices and what have you. And I'd like you kind of to ponder that as well, because I'd like you to choose a spell that you've kind of been studying recently and making like a scroll of, which you can have later. But actually, I just want you to think of like what kind of spell you'd be studying. You can just tell me like what the effects might be. That'll be kind of fun, so you can kind of ponder that. Let me know once you have an idea. But I'll go over a few other brief history things real quick, just like knowledge that an elf would have. So, other than being immortal to age and stamina, see, typically in the game, like you can get exhausted. You go to like level 5 exhaustion, which would typically mean like a character would die. For an elf, you don't necessarily die, but you do still have a ton of negative effects, which would probably lead to your death anyway by the sword or what have you, being like really slow and like unable to even walk, perhaps because you're so exhausted. But there's definitely, perhaps you've heard like elven stories of elf who got stranded, on some island for thousands of years. He's like too weak to move, but it won't kill you. just that exhaustion alone as well is just like you don't eat food, you don't have anything, you never sleep. You just like don't necessarily die, but you would need to probably be saved, but yeah, that's basically a summary of immortalism as the elves have. Any questions there?
So would I just like faint?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's definitely what happens. Say like you'd never eat food, you'd get exhausted. You might get in theory, you could get like stranded somewhere and just like be unable to like move, but then you'd never die. Like say, you got like your arm stuck in like a ledge in a rock slide. If you didn't cut your arm off, you could stay there for millennia if no one ever found you, without food. So, does that make sense? Any other questions?
Nope.
It's conceivable. It's kind of unlikely though, because like being super exhausted, someone could just a wild animal could just kill you. But yeah, other elven things. You definitely have like a wise mind, as you've experienced in your youth. You kind of have the knowledge of the trees and the universe. Some would say that elves are kind of like part tree, like a tree spirit. You're kind of like spirit of the trees in a way. Not like you don't even really know if you're like a wood elf or a high elf. You're some kind of an elf. It's kind of like ambiguous. There's different tribes of elves. You don't know too much about them or where specifically you've come from. You must have just been raised up in the Church of the Word. So that's kind of obviously where you take your name. But yeah, there's a long history as well as the elves. Even you being young, you've probably been taught much of the long history of the elven race and the world. So we'll go into that a little bit more. Couple other things. Well, actually, maybe we'll go into that more first. What's gonna?
What do you mean?
Oh, what was that noise?
I don't know.
Oh, weird. Oh, were you typing? Okay. Anyway, I'll just go with this. You know, having been taught by various teachers in the Sixth Church, you definitely know some of the tales of the old elves. So some elves would be as old as the earth itself, old enough to have seen many of their friends and family twisted into demons by the Dark Lord of the First Age, which you may have heard of, which was a forgotten fae named Garrisoni. So, yeah, there's also basically this call of the Olden Elves to leave this kind of doomed continent that you're on. So it's kind of a tragic dream that the elves share, which they must pass on to the Eternal Land. Essentially, this continent, which was intended for the elves, this continent is not even really intended for elves. In a way, it was created to banish humans. According to the old legends, away and separate the immortal from the impure. So this is a strange land, as it were, but eventually elves are kind of just like called to leave to a distant shore. And this land really, there's the great trees that the elves need really to reproduce and have a society. These trees, like the one you remember from your early childhood, kind of grant you a grace and a power within you. And in addition to that, you definitely have this memory of this great glowing, just like tree that radiates with like light and pure energy and magic. And just that memory of seeing the tree, um, which of course you kind of need to having been born an elf, you kind of have this magical ability, we'll say, which I'm going to give to you. You can use this only one time in your life. It's called Grace. And so, I mean, you could just put Grace in a checkbox next to it, but it lets you re-roll a roll. So, you probably would want to save that for something important, like if you're going to die, but that's a cool Grace ability. But yeah, the memory of the magical tree definitely gives you this and imbues all elves, of course, with this just like dignity and beauty, and just like also foresight and just knowledge of kind of the spirit of trees as well. You kind of have a sense of nature, unlike a human. And fairies and things are kind of similar. Little folk, not like fairies. But yeah. Anyway, let's see. Is there anything else? There's some more specifics of history, but in this dreamy memory that you have, you don't know too much specifically, I would say. Yeah, but you do have, of course, your natural magic. So, oh yeah, kind of in addition to your natural magic of the firebolt spell that you can cast, you kind of also have a natural, like, personal prestidigitation, as it were. So you can kind of like change your appearance a little bit to a degree. Like, especially like often elves are very like they glow with like some light. So you can definitely describe your character in that way, as like having a glow, just like such fair skin and just like kind of radiance with its own light. And you can kind of what the spell prestidigitation does allows you to change certain things about your appearance, like might become clean if you were dirty, something like that. Like an elf could definitely do that. Just kind of like shake that off. Anything Legolas, could kind of do. You could just throw that out there if you want. You just like, oh, walk on the snow. I don't know, what have you. That an elf could do. Totally makes sense. That's totally cool. Love for you to throw that out there. I call that personal prestidigitation, because you can't do that to like somebody else, like another mage could. Like you could learn spells and become a mage.
Cassie.
Yeah, like Cassie did that to Kyle. Like you could do that to a lesser degree to yourself. I think she kind of cast it at a higher level, but spoilers, you can do it like at level 0 on yourself, whereas a normal mage could do that potentially. I'm using different rules though, where you can actually level that spell up. So anyway, I just kind of made that up. Anyway, any other thoughts?
No, that's cool. I'm magical.
Oh yeah, elves are crazy cool. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else really that we need to go over. Mostly the important thing, I want you to know about your mortality and magicalness, just grace. Oh, your grace as an elf. So okay, here's kind of like a myth, kind of like the ancient elfin myth that you might know. It's a legend. The name of the earth or the land, or kind of maybe the god, the word is Irvathur. So there were originally 2 suns that rotated around the earth opposite each other, so it was always day, never nighttime. The ocean and kind of Irvathuru were the first gods, and spoke all life into being. And I am that I am here now. All is one, bringing the Fae and the elves as perfect creations. But there was the forgotten Fae who corrupted the greater sun, and it fell out of balance. He consumed it. This dark Fae kind of became the Dark Lord and corrupted the land and causes night and evil and darkness, and creates demons and man and perhaps dwarves and all the other creatures that are unlike elves who are bound to die. really just by corrupting elves and the other fae. And kind of the fae are kind of like godlike creatures that came before the elves. So when they were corrupted, they would become like great demons. And as well, when the elves were corrupted to the darkness of this evil king, they become greatly powerful, demon-like creatures as well. At some point there's like dragons and everything as well. So it's not really clear what Fae are. Fae can be like a number of things, shapeshifters as well. So, all these dark, terrible things have great power. But the Dark Lord also cursed the soils of this continent, which is Eldarian. Thus, the great trees here, the great trees which glow and grant you grace, are doomed to eventually die because the soil is just not as it should be, not as it was intended to be by the word. So this darkness kind of taints everything, and that's why the elves are kind of sad, kind of doomed in this land, and eventually you need to die. Not die, but leave to the other continent, the eternal land for immortals. So that's kind of, the Tolkien remaster. It's like, elves are magical and beautiful and also kind of sad and kind of tragic in a way. The great trees, which are kind of part of your society and everything. Here, at least in this realm, they're doomed, as so are the elves' presence here. So, at least for now, it's fine. And you're a young elf, so these matters are light on your mind. But you do at least have an inkling that in future centuries, such thoughts would weigh more heavily upon you, at least. And you know that this is the way older elves, these thoughts they deal with as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much the rundown of the elves. So after that history lesson, lore episode, we could do actually an adventure with Richard if you'd like. I'm not sure. It just sounds like a regular bloke.
Wait. Let's take a break because I need to open this window. It's really hot in here.
Okay, pause it. Good to see you again. No, I said good to see you. Sorry. Welcome back to Role Playing Games. So we did a little history of the elves, just a character, and now we have a little brief one shot with Richard at the Temple of the Sixth Word. So, actually, let's see, there was one thing I wanted to mention to you. Comes to me. If it comes to me, I will mention it. But I'll mention now. Richard. Do you have any memory of Richard, Lorena?
No. What do you mean, like in general? Like, do I remember when we met up with him when we got the dragon egg, or like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Red Eagle, perhaps this rings a bell. Any other tidbits you remember? Gosh, this character.
Let me search my mind.
Yes, indeed. Well, let me illuminate you more on kind of your initial relationship. He teaches you some
spying with him.
Spying, yes. And you guys kind of created a rogue society, as it were, within the church. So he's a bit of a charismatic folk. He knows a few other guys and people and elves and involved them. And he communicates with you mostly one-on-one, but you've met maybe a couple of these individuals. Winston, elf man, Vesleon, an elf lady. But he also taught you some stuff about being a rogue, like using like a lockpick. You guys were able to kind of practice that together, and like some sword fighting, some various skills, all manner of stuff. Really, you being a jack of many trades, as a rogue is. And you guys are. This is essentially the time when you kind of gain your first level 1. Go from level 0 to 1. So I don't even know if you have a level 1 character sheet. You don't need one for this adventure. So don't worry about that. But oh yeah, I did mention you should think about kind of a scroll or like a spell that you've been studying recently. Have you thought about one?
Um, I've kind of been thinking, but I need a little bit more time because I want to make sure that I think of something useful and that makes sense. Not like, and when I do this, we win. Or are you asking me to pick like from the actual book? Because I
Yeah,
used to know turning points.
you still know a different spell, Fire Bolt, but I was asking you to make one up. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, like I mentioned, it's a one-time spell you'll be able to use. In fact, I'm thinking you'll have this scroll because at this time you'll be studying it along with many other things with Richard. So, just kind of wanted to mention that now. You definitely be studying that now. You might even try to teach Richard some. He doesn't do too much magic, but being a
I
priest in the word, as you are, you guys both are knowledgeable. What's
think
that?
I know what I want it to be.
Okay.
A spell that lets me know the truth, like to be able to see if I'm being deceived.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
It's
Yeah,
helpful for my PTSD from the sixth word traumas.
I think, yeah, that's fanciful. I would definitely allow that as kind of this an additional one-time spell you have in addition to grace, kind of your elven
Grace
grace
and
after seeing the
truth.
tree. So
That's
I think what
grace and truth.
grace and truth. Those are the one-time abilities. One-time abilities are cool, especially for an elf, because it kind of gives this illusion when you use it instead of just being like, you can still communicate to me as the game master in a way by saying like, I'm using truth, or in this case, it's actually a scroll. So um, we can go over the logistics of how you can use that later, but it should be relatively easy. Like you just probably read this scroll and you'll be able to cast the spell. But especially more so with your grace, we can lean into kind of that being like a mystical, just like elven thing where it's like not really explained to other players, where it's just like, oh wow,
Magic.
elves, elven magic. Okay, cool.
And
Um,
I think maybe Kyle, maybe not, maybe no one. I've done a spell from a scroll before with that dagger I equipped it.
yeah, you've done lots of magic that you remember. In this dreamy memory, you have definitely learned a lot of magic in your years at the Church of the Word, especially here in Ironhaven. They do a lot of magic. As well that you've fallen under the spells, the controls of the Archpriestess for sure, and gone out and done nefarious acts, hardly conscious of them. But you've definitely grown and you learn much power. So you definitely gain that spell as well. It's like kind of you're at level 1 for this adventure. You're a rogue, as it were, as well as this gang of kind of uh, what is it? A rogue society
The
within the
rebellion.
church. This rebellion. So
That's
yes, if you'd like, you and Richard might be sword fighting with like some sabers. You guys are actually you found this kind of, the cult knows all these secret tunnels below the towers of the Temple of the Sixth Ward in Ironhaven. And you've actually found like some tunnels and a notable room, which they seem unaware of. So you're able to use this kind of as a base of operations for um, you know, your activities. So yeah, you guys can definitely be sword fighting. If you want to make some rolls, we could reenact this Saber Duel. Go ahead and just give me a D20 roll. 2 to 3
12.
straight. Oh, so you're kind of getting the upper hand on him. He's got a 10. He's kind of like, backing up with his parrying as you swipe forward. You want to describe what you're doing?
Kind of like fencing move. I just doing short jabs forward, trying to gain ground, back him into a corner of the room.
Yeah, it goes pretty well for you. You know, he's pretty backed up in the corner. He's like, seems you've got me. Well, good fight. What are you going to do next? What's that?
Does he have a hat on?
Sure. We'll say he's got this hat on.
Not anymore.
Ah. He'll drop his sword. You've got me. Very good.
Put mine back in the sheath.
I'm impressed. You've gained many skills with sword fighting.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything else? You're very welcome. Is there anything else you would like to train on next?
I mean, I was already better than you at that. Is there something that you're actually the master of you could show me?
Well, you learned so quickly. Let us try lockpicking again. You're quite good at this as well. I'll have to think on that one. Come over. There's a door over here where you guys normally can test out lockpicking. There's actually 2 of them, but this one you use the most. Kind of just leads nowhere to like this empty hallway. But yeah, you can go ahead and if you want to describe it, you can attempt to lock it. He goes ahead and locks it with the key, and it's like, have at it.
I rolled an 8, so did I make it?
An 8. You can describe. You should describe how your character kind of approaches this and how you kind of attempt.
Pretty confident after the sword fighting, and so I kind of hastily go at it and break the tool off inside the door.
It's like as you're just fidgeting with it, the tool kind of bends a little bit, gives way, and snaps, and kind of sparks of kind of flakes of rust perhaps kind of puff up near your eyes. Like, it laughs. Like, well, perhaps I can show you a thing or two here still. He'll go ahead and nuzzle over there and go ahead and try to pick this lock himself. He also breaks his pick lock in a similar manner. It spins up in the air, hits him on the head, falls down. He's like, this is still have much to learn, it seems.
Must be the door then. And I'm gonna try to break it down.
Oh yeah. You want first the door? You want to describe how you do that? You can roll for that too.
Let me roll first. That'll decide what I want to do.
You can definitely describe though before you roll, kind of just how you would approach this. I don't know. You square up, stare determined or whatever.
Why is it not working? I'm gonna try to kick where the rust was, just the weak point of where the handle is, and see if it will break. The little latch.
Okay. Well, how are you doing it? With your fist?
Kicking.
You're kicking it. Okay. And then did you roll?
Stand and then yeah.
Did you roll?
Oh. Well, I got the 15. Do you want me to roll again?
Roll damage for just like a D4. It's a D4. You definitely get a good kick though. Make contact with the blunt metal of the knob, the lock there. 4. Ooh, max damage. You can definitely describe however you want. You can break this lock off with your foot if that's your intention, and just kind of spiral through the air.
I'm trying to punch it through so it breaks like the part that goes in, like the door jamb, so that it's just loose.
You
So I'm gonna
can
kick
punch
the hand.
like the whole locking mechanism off
Yeah.
and just like out into the the hallway beyond it.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna just be like, lock picked, and pull it open.
Very impressive. The lock kind of definitely gives like a hollow thud and clambers to the empty darkness beyond as you do this deft act. And very nice. Well, I should tell you, Lorna, we are trying to plan a heist here shortly, and I have the other members who will be meeting us here soon. Perhaps they'll arrive. But is there anything else you'd like to do before they get here?
Is there anything in there? Why
In
didn't
the,
it?
in the room? Um, you can pull the door. You have to pull it forward, and inside, it's kind of dark and dank, kind of like all these tunnels down below here that seem to have been perhaps abandoned for centuries before the cult started using them. Some of them. You kind of found it. It's very dusty and dank and abandoned, and there's just like mold and stuff. But this hallway goes on and is actually ruined beyond like collapsed. And it would seem it looks like it happened like so long ago, and it's just covered with dust and what have you. So it's just kind of a short hallway that goes on maybe like 10 feet. It's that's all you have back there.
Okay.
It's very dark.
Yeah. No, I think that's all I want to do. Are they getting here now? The other group members?
Yes. So, kind of as I mentioned, you're definitely aware that recently, you were under the spells of the archpriestess and the upper echelons of the church, or what have you. And you went out and gathered some unwilling sacrifices, as it were. Their charismatic powers channeling through you. You barely remember these dreamy actions, but I also will mention real quick. You're definitely aware, kind of in vague terms, of this political or union situation where the elder elves, kind of the ancient elves, as it were, of the Errigold, um, uh, kind of are unaware, as it were, that there would be any humans or dwarves in these lands. There's kind of this ancient hoax, as it were, that kind of keeps Errigold at peace with these lands. The elves know, and even the archpriestess may have told you over your studies that humans can be terribly useful as lesser beings. There's no sense in Errigold, uh, their wars and times of peace. Benefit everyone, of course, but who is part of these lands. So just some political things I'll throw in there. But yes, Wenson and Vesleon, these elves, do arrive, and in short time you see them walk through. So Richard is kind of the only human. Rare sight in these lands. Humans are around, but it's definitely mostly elves within the church and just in these lands, as far as you're aware. So elves are very, very much the predominant race. Regardless, you do meet these two. They are pretty quiet. They are rogue types. Your band is comprised of very stealthy individuals who, have their own vendettas, as it were, against the church. And you guys do come forward with this plot, as Richard will explain. You guys have each found your own pieces of information, if I'm not mistaken, and we can all discuss those. But there is a ritual that I've become aware of, which is taking place tonight in a room, and I do have a map that I can show you here. It's not far. You guys would have a map kind of some of these underground tunnels, perhaps on this table, as you kind of make this round meeting. And just kind of say, we know that they're going to be sacrificing men in this room, and they're going to be trying to create some sort of preserved flame for some purposes. Perhaps, I'm not sure if Lorena, you learned anything when you were spying on the Archpriestess. And you know what? You can roll kind of for how that task would have gone in the past. You know you were under mind control, so it might not have gone too hot. But did you gain any useful insight to share with the crew?
10.
10. So, iffy. You're kind of aware, as Richard has already explained, that there might be something going on tonight. That's kind of the best you can do, so nothing's too useful. If you want to mention anything else, though, in character, you definitely can. It's like, got anything to tell us first?
It's extremely powerful.
There's a jet engine in your room.
That's how powerful it is.
Wow.
It feels like that in your mind, you know? It feels like something's just arriving and you can't push it
Not
away.
sure what you're saying. What? I'm sorry. What? I'm not sure what you mean.
It's like a fire goes right into your thoughts and you're not even there. Your spirit's not even there during it.
Yes, I know the feeling. So, no insights then about perhaps any secret plans the Archpriestess has.
What?
So, no insights then as to the Archpriestess's plans then. That's
No.
fine. That's fine. I believe our friends here might have something more for us. So, Red Eagle kind of gestures to these other elves who have joined you. And, you've met them briefly. Winston, the male, will kind of speak up, say, yes, as we were spying within the cult, I did garner some special information about, not too specifically, but there's some sort of I just hope some sort of some very secret item the priestess is looking for, the archpriestess. I believe it's some sort of a historical artifact, perhaps. And this has something to do with tonight's ritual, if they can preserve it. So it seems of immense power. If we can disrupt this, should be a great boon to the power balance, prevent them from what they want so dearly, although I know not the specifics of what it is. All right, then. And you guys all kind of look at each other for a moment. Any plan of attack then on this ritual? Of course, we could infiltrate stealthily. Not sure what would be the best method, although I do know what they require. They require some items here which we could steal or try to dissuade, although I imagine they'll be heavily guarded. Could interrupt the chants of the ritual itself. Any ideas?
I feel that interrupting the chants may be most effective and lead to better success for us, rather than trying to face the guards that she has.
This makes sense to me. And I'll say, Vesteon, the elven girl, will kind of say, speak up. I'm not sure. If they could only chant again later, it might only prolong them. Is there nothing else we can do tonight for this, as you say, important ritual? We could, perhaps the four of us, take out these key individuals and put an end to it once and for all. Is the Archpriestess to be there? No doubt.
I have to leave and come back. It's glitching.
Okay. Very well. I grant you your leave. So
Yeah.
yes, here we go. Started the recording, and then yeah. Sorry, what's that?
So we should try to take out the Archpriestess. I think if we disrupt the chants while someone else is pretending to be a part of it, maybe Richard, because he seems to have been what they've been able to withstand last time, could sneak up and attack her to totally interrupt the chant, and then we wouldn't be under the mind spell, and we would have greater chance of success.
They all kind of seem to nod, and the girl elf is like, "Ah, yes, it seems a worthwhile plan." Richard says, "I can do this. I'll go first then into the tunnels. I'll leave you this map. You guys can follow me. When you give, I'm not sure if we could have some signal. Perhaps if you hear the chants, you can merely interrupt at that time. And other than that, if you could follow my breadcrumbs, I'll try to leave you something. But it should be here in this room as marked on the map. So it should be easy enough. Everyone prepared then? Anything else you'd like to say?
Good luck! I've struggled with this before.
Good luck, everyone. Sure, we can do it. Have faith in us as well. So you guys go down into, another area later that night. You guys gather all your equipment that you'll need for this heist, and you guys are set out in plan. You remain with your other elven friends here as part of the order, as it were, the rebellion. And Richard goes to take his place with his hood. He will attempt to infiltrate the the ritual, which isn't too hard. Being a priest, he can kind of sneak in amongst the ranks. Many of the participants are under a haze, which is easily told, observed by you.
Help!
Yes, and nevertheless, you see them, candles in hand, kind of marching. Some of them holding platters of objects like bones and ash and various things, and they go march down as you guys kind of watch from the shadows. Go ahead and make a stealth check for me as you are just kind of hanging out and trying not to be seen, but trying to tag along.
It's an 11.
Okay. And the other elven folk are doing pretty well as well. You kind of almost think you're making a little bit too much noise. Your footfall's heavier than your friends, but no one seems to notice in the end, so it's okay. You do see the final room, which they go into, which is the room that Richard Map was indicating, and can kind of just stake it out until you hear the chanting. You've definitely got all your equipment, everything you'd need. Anything else you'd like to do before this moment?
No, I feel ready.
Me too. I'm ready for anything. And the elf girl kind of draws forth kind of a short saber that she has, as well as this other elfin man. He's like, well, it can't be too much longer. He kind of has like a spell book that he holds as well. He kind of goes out there. He's got a little bit of a wand. He draws forth from his kind of coat pocket a little bit of a wand. It's quite short, stubby one. But he's got a spell book as well, so no worries there. I'm gonna try to move me. Ooh, yeah, this is how I like to view Skype. Okay, not sure. Might affect the. Anyway, yeah. If there's nothing else you'd like to add, throw it to you one more time. I guess you can do anything. You got all your equipment. You doing any other secret plans right now before your final encounter?
Just get my short bow out and just hold it like down, not like so it's not too noticeable to people that see me.
Yeah, well, I
Obviously,
mean, nobody's going to see you. You're actually kind of just in this deserted hallway deep below, dimly lit by candles in the kind of the abandoned section here, secret tunnels below the church. So no one's going to see you. But yeah, eventually you do begin to hear the chanting and kind of flickering of lights below the door. Kind of the glow of this light intensifies, and you hear hom shalala hom within, kind of growing louder. Should we go now then? What should we do? They kind of look to you.
We should go now before people get more entranced. The longer we wait, the lower our chances will be to get this done right.
Yeah, and you guys are kind of just like looking about each other in this, dank passage down below. There are like some bookshelves about, like tables, scrolls. There's various substances like jars on some of these hallway rooms throughout down here. Some of them are abandoned. Some of them seem to be the cult's like artifacts. But yeah, you guys make your way to kind of go burst down this door, and through the cobwebs and the dust that flies up. Do you want to make an attack roll on this door, or do you want to?
It's a 10.
Okay, so you can roll damage on that. D4, I guess.
4.
Max damage again, just kind of like before. You just kick out the locking mechanism right out of this door, and it just flings open this time as this door opens a third. So you guys are all just kind of bursting in at the ready. You with your bow, this girl with her saber, this elf. I gotta wear my ears here. Well, Richard kind of stands up, so he, I'm here to fight as well. He sees you burst in, and he kind of draws forth a dagger that he has under his cloak. And your friend, kind of with his wand, spurts out this like icy spell that dives into the crowd of chanting priests here that are kneeled before this altar. And there's, this ring of glowing, kind of almost like a fire around them as well. And, it seems like some unconscious people up on this altar with these bones and other artifacts and candles all around. You want to describe your action?
What do I see? Do I see the priestess? Where is she?
Make a perception check.
14.
You see mostly just robes of people. Richard is near the back, kind of near you, but almost on the opposite side of the room in the back, kind of in the middle of the room. And you do see near the front some taller robed figures who seem to be maybe they're just standing instead of kneeling. And you think you're hearing their voices. You think you can hear the archpriestess is perhaps the one in the middle of these three figures that stand near the front of the crowd, but they're all in black cloaks. So you're not 100% certain, but you're pretty certain, just where she's standing. And many of these folks are just like turning around. And as these three figures do turn around, you recognize some of them briefly, and you do confirm there she is, the archpriestess, turning around with her wicked snarl, like, what's going on? What are you going to do?
I'm gonna try to shoot her in the face with the arrow. I'm gonna go from there to here and plink.
Amazing. And your comrades rushed forth with their daggers and sabers as well. But yeah, roll your attack.
18.
Oh, a wicked strike. I'll let you go ahead and roll your damage on that real quick.
What do I roll? Because I have a level 3, so it's 1d6 plus 2 still.
I'm sorry. So roll. Just roll that. That'll work
3
just fine.
plus 2, 5.
5 damage. Because the way I'm going to describe this is like, she kind of like almost goes up to block it, and she's not really successful. It's like she was almost successful, but it definitely does wound her. I would say scraping her arm, and perhaps, I don't know, do you want to describe it? Probably piercing. It's not going to kill her, but do you think it would hit her shoulder, maybe her cheek?
I think she's
maybe it
missing
hits her
her
cheek.
ear.
Her ear?
Yeah, because if she's an elf too, that's kind of like
Does what to her ear?
it just grazes it and takes off the point. Flick it. Blech.
Yeah.
Like this. Here, I'll show you.
It kind of cuts off like that's pretty epic. Now I need to do that to one of my ears because I have
No.
I cut one to be the archpriestess now. Because yes, that totally happens. It like kind of she almost diverts it with almost like a magic spell, but it definitely cuts through her.
She can see a pinky too.
I would say like cutting through perhaps kind of her arm or wrist or hand a little bit, and her kind of grazing her cheek and hitting her ear. So she may have a scar that you would notice, in later adventures, as well as of course the tip of her. What would it be here? She's turning probably her. Well, it's her right ear, I guess. This is actually my left ear. But whatever. Is it a right or a left? You can decide.
It's her left. Because I'm facing her and shooting, and it's coming to this side, so it'd be her left ear.
Epic. Because that is amazing. I love that
know.
description and your fantastic attack there, just like leaving a scar on the archpriestess. Because as your comrades, go forward to lunge at a couple other of these, acolytes or priests or what have you that are under mind control, who are all now, scores of them. There's like at least 20 individuals in the room besides the archpriestess and yourselves, your band of rebels. They're all, gathering for some kind of a magical spell and flinging them just at the four of you. The archpriestess herself kind of casting this, you shall despair and die now. And just immense darkness essentially will overwhelm you guys eventually. You will be enamored, pelted, and just like knocked out. And somehow throughout this, you're not sure what happens to your comrades, Lorena, but you will get knocked on the head very hard. This is the moment where you will lose your memory. And this is kind of how your adventures begin. After this, you were demoted. You're not trained by the archpriestess herself closely or many, higher ranking members. No, like priestesses really. You're not a priestess yourself. Now you will be demoted to an acolyte, seeing as you're part of this, immoral rebellion. You'll be heavily punished. Soon you run away. You make stay at the inn with, the man who gives you the map. Well, actually, you steal the map from him, and you go on that adventure. So, spoilers for the next little rundown. But yeah, any final thoughts there as you're just passing out by this onslaught of spells and icy and fiery, just like whiplash around you?
Not feeling hurt. I felt happy because of what I did to her.
Yes, just pride swells within you.
I'm
That
like,
as well. Amazing. Any last words?
I'm like, glad she looks more human in a way, but then I also feel bad because Richard's human and he helped us. That's my last thought of him.
You definitely hear the cries of your friends and the screams of these, priestesses saying, succumb, die. You guys are all, as far as black out and perhaps are taken to your treatment centers, rehabilitation, or punishment to the dungeons with you all. Well, you're not quite sure what fate befell everyone do see Richard later. So, but that as well, we will leave this adventure for tonight. So yeah, thank you for playing, and I will catch you next time. Laura, 6th word.
Yeah.
Bye.